In this video, I want to dispel a few myths that are being retrojected into the past about St John Maximovich of Shanghai and San Francisco regarding his entanglement in the lives of two laymen, Eugene Rose and Gleb Podmashensky, in San Francisco. And all of my material, my source material, all of this information are coming from the words of Father Seraphim Rose in his letters. And the myths that we're going to dispel are that St John Maximovich blessed the two of them to become monks or priests or to establish a monastery or for Father Herman to be an abbot. None of that happened, and you'll see why shortly. And after I've gone through the 5 or 6 things that Seraphim Rose does report about what Vladika John did do, I'll make a comment, and that will be the end of part 1 of this video, which might stop around the 5-minute mark. And then part 2 of this video will be where I go to the letters of Seraphim Rose, read them out and make comments. Right. Factoid number 1, it all began on the 28th of August 1963. Vladika John blesses the formation of a lay brotherhood in San Francisco called the St. Herman of Alaska Brotherhood. Then jump ahead to the 17th of September 1964, so it's basically a year later. Vladika John blesses the Brotherhood to start a magazine called The Orthodox Word, and then the same month he pops down to their bookshop where they've got the printing press and he sprinkles it with holy water. That's on the 30th of September 1964. And then jump ahead to the next year. Eugene is ordained a reader at the cathedral in San Francisco. And then finally, or but finally, penultimately, on the 2nd of July 1966, Vladika John reposes and St. John of Shanghai and San Francisco intercede for us. The last little thing is a jump ahead 6 years now to 1971, and in a letter number 77, Eugene is reflecting back on a conversation that he had with Vladika John, and he's misquoting it. He's trying to construe that they had a blessing to start a monastery. It went like this. The young layman, Eugene, says to the bishop, "I would like to see a missionary monastery in California." Reply, as reported by the later Father Seraphim Rose, Vladika John said, "I too believe there will be such a missionary monastery in California." So when the time comes, I'm going to say something about when a bishop makes a reply in that way. And I'll make a comment over those 5 or 6 factoids that we've just had that span the years from 63 to 66 and then jump ahead to 1971 for a comment. It's all just a brotherhood of laymen. It's based in San Francisco. They're printing a magazine and they're running a bookshop. And they're both readers. Gleb's a reader as well. Now, that's it. That's all that happened. That's it. It was only after the repose of Vladika John that Eugene started to concretely think about buying land. There's no bishop over him now. And it's going to be a year later before they even learn about land available in Platina. So basically you can stop listening now. This is the end of the introduction. But according to Father Seraphim Rose, Vladika John Maximovich had nothing to do with Platina. nothing to do with them being monks or priests or Father Herman ever being an abbot. Later in the the part 2 of this video, you'll hear how that kind of happened under Bishop Anthony, who succeeded Bishop John. And before we get into the meat of part 2, I want to make a comment about everything we heard in part 1, which was in 1963, the beginning of the St. Herman of Alaska Brotherhood for laymen in San Francisco until the repose in 1966 of Vladika John. So we'll call it 3 years. Okay, here's a comment. This is what it looks like. It looks like the bishop was guiding these laymen to do some good work in a secular way in the urban environment, and that's all he was doing. He wasn't crafting them to be monastics, even if they thought that they were. He obviously wasn't, and it looks like he was actually sitting on them and actually discouraging them from going down that path. That's what it looks like to me. Right, let's get on to part 2. Right, so you've got in the description links to 2 sources where you can access the letters of Seraphim Rose and the chronicles of the early years. And sorry about the sound of a bit flipping paper, never mind. And I'm going to read out excerpts, and I'll give you the quotes of the letters, and you can go and check those out for yourself, and I'll make comments as we go. Right. So let's start. So after we had established that St John Maximovich blessed the lay brotherhood to start on the 28th of August in 63, now I'm going to jump to letter number 5 of September the 16th, 1963, from Eugene to Gleb. So this is basically a month later. Quoting the letter, Eugene says to Gleb, "Several people could be responsible for opening and closing the shop, a different person each day, to divide the labour. All work would be voluntary and unpaid, all proceeds going to the expansion of the activities of the, quote, brotherhood, unquote. First, purchase of more books for sale, especially the Fathers. Second, providing the bookstore is a success, the publication of some sort of bulletin, perhaps, etc." Time for a comment. So the Brotherhood's been established for 1 month. Eugene puts it in quotation marks, spells it with the capital B, and they haven't even opened their shop yet. And that's all they're thinking of, is opening a bookshop. So at this stage, the whole point of the Brotherhood is to open a bookshop. There we go. Okay, we'll move on to the next letter, and these first 4 letters are going to have something in common. You're going to see that Eugene is speculating about what the purpose of their Brotherhood is. So anyway, this next letter is letter number 7, and that is the 31st of some month in 1963, again to Gleb, and he says, quote, "Concerning the precise nature of our organisation, I have some questions. Just what is a, quote, brotherhood, unquote, with lowercase b, in the Orthodox Church? Isn't it supposed to be some kind of monastic society? For what purposes are Orthodox brotherhoods established? Under whose auspices? With what qualifications for membership? Is the patronage of a canonized saint not required?" Right, so now this needs a little bit of a comment. So we're in the world of secular institutes, fraternities, congregations, and sororities and brotherhoods. So there we go. Let's move on. In the next letter, which is letter number 8, January the 12th, 1964, again to Gleb, he continues to speculate. He's talking about John with no H. "John and I both share the Russian distrust of, quote, organisation, unquote. It will be good if our brotherhood can have as much spirit and as few words as possible. So, and now we'll go to letter number 11, February the 4th, 1964, again to Gleb. Eugene says, I think it would be good to talk to Father Leonid about the, quote, brotherhood, unquote, side of our project, or whatever it is to be called, since he is the most missionary-minded priest here. Right, so a little comment. So Eugene is still speculating about is it a brotherhood? What's its purpose? Missionary-mindedness seems to be the thing. And pay attention to the date. It's February 1964 at this stage. And now the source material we'll go to are the Chronicles, and we're jumping ahead 7 months from February 1964 to the 12th of September 1964. Now this is going to be a really long quote, and here we go. The 12th of September of 1964, ... at 8 in the evening, the following brief statement of the Brotherhood's ideas have been read in the presence of 4 members, brothers of the Father Herman of Alaska Brotherhood. After hearing the reading, the 4 brothers, Right Reverend Hieromonk Sava, by name Anthony Ulrich, Reader Gleb Pomoshinsky, Eugene Rose, and Vladimir Tankevich, held these ideas in common. The Father Herman Brotherhood, the aim. By glorifying Father Herman, propagate lowercase t for true Orthodox spirituality by the means of 1. Personal spiritual life, 2. Collecting, translating, printing and distributing Orthodox ascetic literature, 3. And directing this activity to all young people and others. B. Practical approaches. 1. Bookstore. 4. 1. Distributing literature. 2. Gaining, quote, holy money, unquote. 2. Print own periodical in English language, parentheses, also lectures, illustrated, etc. 3. Skeet in wooded area to lead Orthodox ascetic life and to house a print shop. C. Spiritual advisor, Number 1, Reverend Archbishop John Maximovich. He blessed brotherhood on St. Job of Povchaisky Day, and that was the 28th of August, in 1963. Number 2, Reverend Nektari Konzevich. He blessed the store in March 1964. D. Achievements. Number 1, bookstore. 2,500 of spiritual literature sold in a period of half a year. 2. 4 brothers. E. Brothers' agreement. 1. Intention to devote whole life to the service of the Holy Orthodox Apostolic Church. F. Problems practical. 1. Need of funds. 4. A. Printing press, etc. B. Upkeep of the bookstore advertisement. C. Maintaining land, property for sale for a skeet. Number 2. Lack of Christian togetherness. G. The Brotherhood funds, donations, gifts from 1. Reverend Yerasim Schmaltz, Alaska, $25. Now here is time to make some comments. So the date now is August 1964, and the brothers had a formal meeting and they came to agreement. Now this had nothing to do with Archbishop Vladimir John Maximovich. He wasn't there. It was just the 4 of them having it. One was a hieromonk, priest monk. Right. Second point to make: they're talking about a skeet. Now they're using the word wrong. They mean a commune, I think. They're lay people. You can't have a skeet of lay people. A skeet is a monastic institution of tonsured monks. They're not tonsured monks. So they're misusing the word skeet here. The spiritual advisor, they nominate Reverend Archbishop John Maximovich to be their spiritual advisor. in absentia, he's not there. And they also nominate Reverend Nektari Konzevich as well. And I think that must be Bishop Nektari. Right. And so that is their formal meeting. Salient point, nothing to do with St John Maximovich. And they're starting to talk about a skeet, but they're not even monks, so they're misusing the word skeet. They mean living in community. Carry on. So carry on also from the Chronicles, parentheses, letter in a box, a copy of Archbishop John's blessing to begin a magazine called The Orthodox Word, 17th of September 1964. And 30th of so comment, that was 1 week after they had their meeting. Right. And now, same month, at the end of the month, on the 30th of September, Archbishop John came to our shop, quote, by chance, unquote. When he saw the press, his first thought was to bless it with holy water and prayer, which he did immediately. And that's that. So to sum up, all Vladika John did was he blessed them to start a magazine, and he blessed their printing press. He didn't attend their meeting where they outlined their vision to aim for what they call a skeet. But anyway, let's jump ahead now to 1965, and this is on the 7th of April. Today, Brother Eugene was ordained reader in the cathedral. Thus, one more preparation has been made for the day when our brotherhood shall become a monastic one. Right, so now a comment. No, when you're a reader in a cathedral, that's not a step to a monastery. You're a reader, you're a layman, you're not a monk. They're not connected. There's no demonstration of any connection between the ordination of Eugene as a reader to steer him towards monasticism by Vladika John. That's not evident. It's not there. It's wishful thinking. So my own private comment here is, if Vladika John wanted to steer them towards monasticism then and there, he would have sent them to Jordanville or some established monastery to be monks. He wouldn't have turned Eugene into a reader in the cathedral as a layman. It's a non sequitur. reader in the cathedral doesn't. It's not a conveyor belt to monasticism. Doesn't work that way. Right, and now we jump to 1966 and July the 2nd. Tonight we were informed just before the beginning of the all-night vigil of the sudden death of our beloved Vladika Ioan in Seattle. And now this is the repose of St John, and it's 2nd of July 1966. All right, and now we jump one day ahead, July the 3rd. Today, with heavy hearts of brotherhood. Anyway, carry on. Amid this talk of the, quote, testament of Vladika Ioan, so, end quote, testament means will, what has our brotherhood to offer? This seems to be clearly indicated both by our very nature and by Vladika Ioan's instructions to us. On his last visit to us especially, he talked of nothing but saints, Romanian, English, French, Russian. Is it not therefore our duty to remember the saints of God, following as closely as possible Vladika's example, i.e., to know their lives, nourish our spiritual lives by constantly reading of them, making them known to others by speaking of them and printing them, and by praying to the saints? When we have our skeet, we must have services to them as Vladika did, making the yearly cycle of Saints' Day a part of our breath and life. Okay, so comment. It's one day after the repose of of St John Maximovich, and now the myth-making is starting. So look at this. The last visit of Vladika John to them, he talked of saints. Father Seraphim thinks that means they are to be monks. They want to follow Father John's example by doing liturgies, and they're going to have a skete now, and do liturgies as well, the yearly cycle of saints' days. So the skete idea is coming out of their imagination, and it's only one day after repose of the bishop and their laymen. All right. So skip ahead 10 days and we'll see how this is developing. So now we're on the 13th of July, and Eugene says, but that raises the question, what is our path and where does it lead? The brothers have never, in so many words, set a definite goal for themselves, but have rather felt their way from day to day, trusting in God's providence and the gentle guidance of Vladika Yuan, building upon daily labour and prayer, feeble as these have been, rather than plans and organisation. God has so far blessed this path and seems to be clearly leading, bold as that is, to the formation of a monastic brotherhood and a skete that will be a missionary centre. Okay, so now we can see that it's just 11 days now after the repose of St John, that now they believe it's God's will that the lay brotherhood should become a monastic brotherhood and be a proper formal skete for tonsured monks, canonically tonsured monks, and that will be a missionary centre. Jump to a next quote from the same entry. If now we will really have 3 brothers, one of them left, one of those 4 left, really have 3 brothers, our next task is to find a piece of land and begin the boldest and most dangerous part of our path, the formation of a skete. May God and our heavenly patrons, Father Herman and Vladika John, help us! ! So now, 11 days, Eugene is saying, okay, now let's get some land. They're laymen, they're going to get land, and they want to become monks, and they want to become a monastery, and that's where they're at, and let's carry on now. So the takeaway is all of this talk of sketes and monasticism happened immediately after the repose of St John Maximovich, and as I said, my own private view was he was steering them well away from all of that while he was alive, but once he had gone, now it was the sluice gates were opened, and we're jumping ahead now to 1967, and this is July, so it's about 13 months into the future, and the Brotherhood has obviously been fomenting its plans to become self DIY, self-invented monks somehow. Right, here we go. Today, brothers Gleb, Eugene and Lawrence looked at an ideal piece of land on a mountain top just south of Platina. Right, and so let's just think about that date. That's 13 months. 13 months after the repose of Vladika John, do they now look at Platina? Right. So that was their first look at Platina, and that was on the 3rd of July 1967. Now for the next 2 years, they visit Platina over and over and over again, start building, get they need the building permit. It refused anyway. Jump ahead two more years now to 1969, and this is the milestone. They moved to Platina on the 28th of August, and they're laymen. It's Eugene and Gleb, and they're laymen. They think it's a skeet. They're just laymen living in the woods. That's all it is. And then 1 month after that, on the 24th of September, the laymen, Eugene and Gleb, I don't know who else is there, are visited by the new bishop, Anthony Medvedev. So that's the information from the Chronicles. I just sum that up. They're all laymen. They buy their land in the woods. They think they're LARPing as monks. And the new bishop comes to check them out. And now we're going to go back to the letters now. So my own view was this was a debacle, a fiasco, and a catastrophe that St John was trying to avoid happening for as long as he was alive. But we can see that as soon as he reposed, there was no holding Gleb and Eugene back. All right, now we're jumping way ahead to 1971, and it's the letter on the 6th of April by Eugene to Elena Yurevna, and this is where he reports a conversation to her that he had with Vladika John while they were alive, and I think he's misquoting or misremembering. And he says, "Glory be to God for everything. Do not believe for a moment that we are abandoning the path we began with Vladika John's blessing. We go forward with absolute trust in God on the straight monastic path which Vladika John foretold to us when he called our brotherhood a reflection of Valam, and when he told me, when I told him of our hopes for a missionary monastery away from the city. I too believe that there will be such a missionary monastery in California." Right, so what can we say? If a bishop called a lay brotherhood a reflection of Valam, all right, well that's a beautiful thing to say, but it's not a blessing to become a monastery like Valam, is it? Okay, and now when a bishop says, "I too believe that there will be such a missionary monastery in California," this is my comment. This is when people in authority say neither yea nor nay. They're not going to commit yes or no. And secondly, when you've got fragile people in front of you, a very harsh no can instigate a bit of a psychological crisis. So there's a bit of a pastoral response here, I think, going in this very evasive comment that the bishop made to the young layman Eugene. All right, so while he's writing to Yelena, he's already tonsured a monk, so I have to go back to letter number 57, August the 18th, 1970. He's writing to Daniel, and he says, within the next few days or weeks, God willing, we will both be tonsured monks here, and then our real life's labour will begin. Comment, Vladika Anthony is the one who tonsured them as monks. We'll get onto that again soon. Right. And final letter, number 89, August the 23rd, 1971, to Lawrence. In the meantime, we consider that our monastery does not yet have an official status and is in a state of, quote, persecution, unquote, until such a day as we shall be free to exercise our monastic right to present our own rule to the synod and elect our own head. Until that time, we take protection under the name of, quote, brotherhood, unquote, which Vladika John blessed. All right, so now the myth that Vladika John Maximovich blessed them to have a monastery is now firmly concretized as a myth in their in the way they see themselves now. But that's the end of the source material, but you can go to the whole letters for yourselves, and you can find out that it was Vladika Anthony Medvedev that tonsured them. It was Vladika Anthony Medvedev that made them priests, and it was Vladika Anthony who was the egumen of Platina. The abbot of Platina was the bishop. It was the Bishop Anthony. And this is the man that we just heard that Father Seraphim thinks is persecuting Father Seraphim. So Father Seraphim has a weird concept of monasticism as not being under an egumen, the egumen, in the diocese of a bishop, not being under that bishop. So and finally, people report that Father Herman was the abbot at Platina. No, you'll see in the letters of Father Seraphim Rose that Father Herman was only ever the Blagocini. He was never the abbot. Okay, so let me kind of encapsulate all of that. For the 3 years from 63 to 66, it looks like Vladika St John Maximovich was cultivating these laymen in their lay society to publish and run a bookshop, and he was putting the brakes on their romantic monastic idealism. He was inhibiting them from becoming monastics. And one day after his death, it began, the idea of a skete. 11 days after the repose of St John, they were looking for land. And it was 13 months later, let's double check that they found Platina. Yep, that's correct. And then it was in 1969, so three and a bit more years later, they finally moved to Platina after the repose of Vladika John. And the next abbot, Anthony Medvedev, visited them immediately and very quickly moved to establish them properly as a monastery as they wished, but with himself as the egumen as they did not wish. And they accepted tonsure from him, and they accepted ordination from him, but they resisted him fiercely and felt persecuted by him intensely. And we saw in this video, move ahead 5 years, the myth that St John Maximovich blessed them to be monks is now being just promulgated everywhere. As we saw a letter to Yelena, and that's it. Yep, they were laymen. They were never trained as monks. They disobeyed their bishop fiercely the whole time, and that is what they wanted to do, and that is what they ended up doing, and it all ended very, very badly in premature death and leaping over into schismatic sects and cults, not to mention all of the horrific sexual abuse. That's it.